Hi, this is Ben Jackson of Crimson Glory, and you're listening to Heavy Demons Radio Show.
First of all, tell us what happened to Crimson Glory over the past 26 years.
Well, excuse me. We've had some times where the band just became inactive a few times because certain members, primarily John Drenning, didn't want to do it for a while. He would disappear for a while, maybe, 8 or so, 10 years, and then he'd reach out to us again and we'd bring the band back into activity for a couple years, and then it would sort of happen again. So it's just all I can really say is the band, we weren't on a constant run. We were sort of coming together and going apart and coming together over all these years, and it was just primarily because one member just wasn't really there for us with consistency. So here we are back again, and we're gonna try to be here for a while for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. We needed you
Yeah,
after all these
thank
years.
you. Thank you.
And how would you describe the sound of Chasing the Hydra to our listeners and to your old and new fans?
Well, it's definitely a very cool, heavy, progressive metal album. It's similar to the style of the first two albums we did, especially similar to Transcendence in the writing aspect and the sounds of the arrangements and the way things are done, but very modern too, with a more of a progressive twist, more modernisms in the way the things were written, and some interesting time changes and progressive elements to the album. So for those who are fans of progressive metal or power metal, I think new fans will love it. For the fans of the older albums, I think they'll really love it too.
Walk us through the songwriting process, the recording sessions, and the production of the album.
Yeah, it usually starts with just Jeff, recording some demos of some song ideas he has, and he'll let Dana and I hear them, and Mark and Travis, and sometimes I'll have a couple ideas and I'll demo them and I'll let the guys hear them. So we usually start, we individually come up with ideas and make scratch demos of these ideas, and we let the other guys hear them. And then once everybody kind of says, yeah, I like the sound of that, let's work on that some more, and then we come together and everybody then starts giving it some input. And some songs are more of a full band collaboration, where some of them were created more by Jeff and Travis as a writing duo. But as the songs were writing, we and coming together, we did all the recording here in Florida in the studio, where Dana did all the drums on real drum kit, nothing machines, no triggers or anything, just all real drums. We did all the guitar parts there in the same studio, using real old school techniques like tube amps, mic'd up cabinets and everything. And Travis did all his vocals in his own home studio over in Dallas, where he lives in Dallas, Texas. He has a very nice home studio at his house, and he does his own vocals there. So we would send him ideas, and he'd send vocals back, and we go back and forth, and that's how we put the album together.
What themes did you explore in the lyrics of Chasing the Hydra? Which topics?
Multiple topics, just one song I suggested as a theme was a song about the number 13 being unlucky. In so many cultures for such a long time, everybody views that number as unlucky. So we wrote a song about that, and other superstitions, like black cats and broken mirrors, how people feel this is all very unlucky. So the song Triskaideka is about that. The other songs just are about multiple things. I mean, I didn't really write all these lyrics. Travis wrote a lot of them, so he probably could explain better. But I know the song "Broken Together" is another one that I co-wrote some riffs for, gave to Jeff and Travis, and they finished and wrote a bunch of cool parts for it. And Travis explained to me that song is really about broken relationships, and how a relationship can still carry on, in a way, even after it's been broken. other things like Indelible Ashes. Jeff kind of came up with this theme, and it's about a guy who lost a love, who died, and the memories are just still sticking with him very securely. So, it's a song that kind of faces that kind of a feeling.
Tell us something about the album artwork and its overall meaning.
Well, the artwork was done by a guy we know named Justice Mitchell, and he did a previous album artwork for Crimson Glory on the Strange and Beautiful album. And Jeff came the theme to work with of the seven-headed dragon, the Hydra from mythology. And Justice created this image where the seven-headed dragon is surrounded by the wings, and there's like a glowing gemstone in the center, and it just kind of came together that way through the artist's vision of what we asked him to do with the dragon and the seven heads. And the song is just about that. It's about conquering things in your life one thing at a time, no matter what is facing you. You have to continue to forward and slay it one head at a time, and just come out on top.
How will the live activity to support the album unfold in the near future?
This summer, we have a lot of months of book dates already in June, July, and August and September. We're going to be playing all over Europe again, Mexico in May. And then in June, we're playing the Netherlands and Greece. In July, we're playing in Spain and Italy and Germany. August, we're playing in Belgium and in Germany. We have a date in Bulgaria. So we have a very, very cool summer list of festival appearances and some smaller clubs that we're going to be playing. So we can't wait to get out there and see everybody and showcase some of the new material so everybody can hear, how well it sounds live. We've been rehearsing the songs lately, the new album, getting ready for the summer, and the stuff just sounds really good live. It's going to be a really good time for everybody.
What memories do you have of Midnight, both on a human and the musical level?
Well, on a human level, we were very good friends. We became friends when we were in school as pretty young teenagers. So, we shared a lot of things like hanging out at the beach, high school parties, and just, we kind of, in a way, shared our teenage years together, and Dana and I and Midnight. And so Midnight was always a very cool friend, and he had a lot of charisma. He was great sense of humor. He was a fun guy to hang out with, and when he really started exploring being a singer and a songwriter, he bloomed, and he blossomed into something really magnificent because he wrote some really cool, heartfelt lyrics, and also, very, that surrounded in mysticism and everything else, darkness and light and everything in between. I mean, Midnight was very gifted. I remember he used to write lyrics in his notebook, and just all day long he just sit around writing with his pen and paper, just filling up pages and pages and pages. And of course, a lot of that stuff never got used. He would, maybe pick one that he really liked and say, "Hey, let's work on this. I have a song." But he had just dozens of songs and ideas and things that he was writing all the time. So I admired that about him, that he was always constantly just filling his notebook with new lyrics and new ideas. He was quite a character.
Yeah, and what do you remember about the early days of the first two Crimson Glory albums, which was a period so different from today?
Mm. Yeah, I just remember, the passion and drive that we all had as a young band. I mean, we were all young guys, ranging, 18 to 20-year olds, creating the music, trying to develop a style for the music that would be our first album. And we spent a lot of hours together, Jeff and John and Dana and I at midnight in the warehouse, we called it, the rehearsal studio. And just we grew up together, just playing music and learning our craft, and perfecting everything. And when we weren't playing together, we would be hanging out in the parking lot of the warehouse, like, throwing ball around or playing frisbee or just, doing fun stuff. So it was a good time. And then once we actually started hitting the studio to record the first album, we had been in a few studios to do demos, but when we went to Morrisound for the first time, it was the first time we went to a place of that high caliber. So it was a very, it was a satisfying feeling and fun and a learning experience for all of us to be there and learn from Jim and Tom Morris as we were recording these songs and that wow how good they could actually sound when they're done the right way, in the right place with the right people. So many memories surrounding all that. It was all a very cool time for a bunch of young guys.
What kind of non-metal music do you enjoy listening to in your spare time?
Well, I've always had my classic favorites. Judas Priest has always been a band I adore. Like I love Screaming for Vengeance and Defenders of the Faith were some of my favorite Priest albums. And Stained Class and always been a Maiden fan. You know, I like uh, I like Black Sabbath a lot. Heaven and Hell was my favorite album by them with Dio and loved Ronnie Dio and all his early solo albums. Holy Diver, just those are the kind of things I always loved a lot. Scorpions were a favorite, except Michael Schenker, all those guys.
And apart from metal, non-metal,
Apart from metal, I mean, I really grew up loving the Beatles, the Who, bands like Joe Walsh was really big for me. The Eagles, some Southern rock, Leonard Skinner. I just thought they were amazing, and just all kinds of stuff like that. I listen to all kinds of classic rock as well, like Led Zeppelin and Bad Company and Jethro Tull, and these are just all the things I really loved when I was actually a younger guy. Kind of got into metal more when I was a late teenager, early 20s. Is when I started really getting into all the metal. But prior to that, as a younger teenager, I was just really into classic rock of all kinds, everything AC/DC and Aerosmith, Ted Nugent, just to name a few, Grand Funk. I loved all that.
what do you think about the difference between nowadays way of promoting music, mostly digitally, and the good old days via paper, magazines and stuff?
Well, I mean, it was an interesting time back then. It was kind of charming, the way everything was done, with paper magazines and sending cassettes out in the mail to people to hopefully get maybe one magazine to review it. Now, I mean, with social media and all the social platforms and, you know, there's just so many ways for a band to promote and get their album out or get their music out and have a million people hear it the same day, back then it was hard to spread the word, about your band, about your project and your music.
What final message and greeting would you send to the Crimson Glory's Italian fans?
Hey, all you Italian fans, this is Ben from Crimson Glory. We're back with a new album. We hope you guys all love it. Definitely can't wait to see you over in Italy this summer at the La Polo and Rock Festival. See you then.